So I see that you are doing regular those exercises like trapbar deadlifts, squats, lunges, everything what everyone like knows that they need to do. But
Yeah.
also I see some, we call it like an Instagram exercises like rotational cable pulls where the band is like strapped around your
Yeah,
upper
yeah.
body, or like a hamstring catches.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything, and also depends on the philosophy you have as a strength coach. This for me comes from my academic background a little bit. In Spain, everybody knows like the master's degree of Barcelona, like the high performance team sports. They have a really interesting methodology and like completely different of the traditional let's say philosophies. Um, and they like one of their main principles is like to the variation of exercises of a stimulus to the players.
So, what if, like, when should players focus more on those exercises, and when players should focus more on the basic lifts, in your opinion? Is it like age group differences, or is it like experience in the weight room? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Basketball Body and Mind. Today, we are joined by Manuel Lopez Ramirez, a strength and conditioning coach with lots of experience in developing basketball players at all levels. He has been working for the last 7 years in the highest league in Israel, and during summers works with the high-level American basketball players overseas. And on top of that, Manuel started to work with the Cyprus men's national team during the FIBA windows. So a coach from basketball country, which is Spain, with lots of international experience. Manuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me, man.
Manuel, so let's start with this question. What do you think is underworked area in the weight room for basketball players? What do they often neglect? I mean, you can talk from your own, because I know you have played basketball, so you can talk from your own experience as a player, and also it would be interesting to hear from your experience as a coach.
So you sent me the question before. I was thinking about it, and something just came up. And I think like the one thing like we really underwork in the weight room, let's say with young players or even on the highest level, is like the complex of the foot, ankle, calf, soleus. It's something like I think sometimes we really forget about it. And I'm not excusing anybody, but I think basically it's most of the times you don't have a lot of room, a lot of time to work with a wide group of players on all the areas. So you choose the main exercise. You choose, let's say, like the foundational exercises, like the trap bar, like you know the exercise
Squats, deadlifts.
the exercise that you will benefit the most for the performance of the player and for the development of the players. So I think like when we're talking about like something that we really underwork is like especially the calf and the soleus. Lately we can see like it's really important to work on it for development, but also for the reduce the risk of injury of the players. Let's say the soleus is an area that protects a lot the knees, like on the impacts, decelerations, accelerations, jumping, and landings, and also the foot in general, not just working on the ankle, the foot, like all the work on the big toe, on the separation of the toes, all of this stuff is something like we really underwork because. Also, it's really difficult to work on it as a group, and it takes time to teach the player how important it is and also how to work on it in a proper way. So
So
I think,
are you talking, sorry to cut you, but are you talking about like calf raises, that we should do more calf raises, or different kind of exercises
yeah,
to?
yeah, for sure, like the basic stuff, starting from the basic stuff and then developing to other things. But I think like we underwork these areas, like this complex, like foot, calf, soleus, especially the soleus is something like because it's different than the calf. It's not the
Could
same
you
muscle.
then could you give an example of one exercise that would be like soleus muscle? And soleus is just behind the calf. So what would be example of like exercise that anyone could kind of try or to do?
Yeah, so let's say like when we do calves, your legs are fully straight, so you can do the calf raises like regular, two legs, single leg, everything. So when you need to work on the calf, when you on the soleus, when you're standing, you need to bend your knee in a proper way, and then lift your heel from there. And then you can work like let's say eccentric, concentric, but the best way obviously is to work on the eccentric phase, like slowing down the pace, like let's say with 2 3 seconds you can use a metronomer like to count the rhythm. And then also there is this very traditional machine that you have when you like just sit and put weight on your knees, and the knee is totally bending, your body is totally bending, so you work specific on the soleus. This stimulus, I think is really important. If you don't have this machine, you literally can just put two dumbbells over your knees, like sitting a box, sitting a bench. And if you have a step, put your toes in a step and just raise your heels and slow the pace down. I think this is the best exercise for this. Also, then to apply with some kind of plyometrics like pogos or pogo jumping or extensive plyometrics, I think would be a really interesting approach for the development of the strength in the soleus.
And have you read something now? If I don't miss, like if I remember correctly, sometimes I see on your Instagram that people are working barefoot. So then would also train more of the lower leg, that underworked area, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
you
yeah.
would recommend to someone to people also to work barefoot sometimes in the weight room if I mean if gym rules
I
allows.
think to work barefoot most of the time is the best because at the end, like the basketball shoes, they put they bring your foot in a position like your toes are completely together, like there is no separation, and they squeeze it in. So you lose some kind of ability on your toes, like to create more like a, let's say force when you apply, like when you touch the ground and you push the ground, like so. I really recommend to work barefoot on the weight room, but the thing is like not everywhere you have like let's say a private weight room or like the specific floor like to be safe and to work barefoot. I think this is the main issue. In my case, I have a weight room. It's only for us, for the team, and the floor is good, has grip, so you can work barefoot. It's good. Like, but I don't do it all the time. I do it on the days that I have less volume of work. During the days that I have much more volume and movements, I try to tell them to use the shoes. But there is even some players like they ask me to not do it with shoes because they feel like their feet squeezing in. So they prefer to be barefoot. And depending on the day, how much equipment is on the floor, how much time I have, because at the end to put the shoes on, put the shoes off, and everything, it takes time. I allow them or not, but it's something I try to do. Like if I lift like 4 or 5 times a week, like 3 or 4 out of 5, I try them to be barefoot. And at the end, it's another work on the foot. Like it's really good.
Yes, I was visiting, visiting in Dallas, one facility. I think it's named like a Star Academy or something similar, and it was like maybe 60 football players, American football players, and I saw that they're doing static stretching, foam rolling. Then they went to dynamic stretching. Everything was done barefoot, and I thought that's really nice. And then I see that they started to sprint. Maybe it wasn't 100%, but 80, 90, close to 100%, doing some pogo hops and everything barefoot. And they told me that it's professional football players. And they told me that also it was over the time that they built that they're not starting to sprint barefoot, but
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
started with those static, then dynamic stretching, then they put their shoes on, then they did the sprints. But eventually, every single, like 60 players, every single one of them were barefoot. So I 100% agree with you.
That's really nice. That's really nice. Also, it's really important. Like you build this, like you are not just doing everything barefoot from the beginning. If they are not used to it, you building this. This is really important, especially if they are running or like doing a plyometrics. It's really important to build it first. But this is really nice. I think how it should be everywhere. If you have
Yeah.
if you have the right environment, of course.
Yes, yes, and also, as you said, like start slowly. Okay, so Manuel, you also have been working in one club for 5 seasons already. So when players are coming, young players are coming to your professional club, What stands out for you as a coach? Is the physical part of their body, or maybe vertical jump, or personality, or maybe basketball skills? What for you stands out as a coach in them?
So also with this question, I just came up with something, and I think it's really interesting because it's really what it matters for me as a strength and conditioning coach, and also for my club. I think is one of the most important things. If the player has this quality, it's much easier for everybody. So for me, the the discipline first, the work ethic, uh, and the work ethic that the player is a hard worker. I think this is the most important thing. From all the other qualities, for sure, like that the player is good physically, like the player has a great personality, great skills, but all of these things, like every player is gonna be completely different. But if the player is disciplined, has a good work ethic, and is a hard worker, this is something like everybody can do. Like you can come like on time every day, like hour and a half before, and do your shooting routine and do your prehab or stretching mobility routine. You can have certain strength like activation, doesn't need to even be a lifting program for every day. Then you can be like super serious during the activations, warm ups of the team. Be like disciplined, asking questions. Be like, if you are disciplined, for sure you're gonna take care of your body outside the court. Uh, for sure, if you have a problem physically, you're gonna communicate with the staff. So if you are like a hard worker, you want your body to be in the best position. So you're gonna rely on your strength coach. You're gonna rely on your physiotherapist, head coaches, organization. So when I think about like something like a player, like when coming is the most important thing, and for my experience here, like this is like my fifth season here, but during the 4 seasons before, I can tell you like the 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 hardest worker players and the more disciplined guys uh, are the ones that are making the most money and that did the steps up like in the level of the teams that they are playing. And slowly, they weren't going like from my team to, I don't know, EuroLeague, but from my team to another league better. Then from this league, another team look at them and they go to BCL or they go to Australian League. And those guys, the only thing that they had different is like they don't rely on others to organize their work ethic or their schedule. They have a mindset and they say, I'm going every day between hour and a half to 2 hours before. And this is for sure something that is happening. I have a player like is now playing, let's say, Russia, but was playing Australia before and BCL Euro Cup last 2 years. I have another one that is playing BCL right now, was 2 years ago here. I have another one that play Australia and Japan, and they came here to a lower value team, but they were coming every day to work before practice, to work on the weight room, to work with the physio, to work during practice, to be like super strict with themselves. So when I see this profile, for me, this is everything. And you can see it easily. You can teach them, but when you see this, and also you learn a lot from these guys. Like they teach you a lot, and they also let you like to teach them how to take care of their bodies and everything. So this is for me, this is the best quality for sure.
And do you think you or someone can teach that, or they have to kind of come with that from their like families, from where they were grown?
This is a tough answer because at the end, like you also need to be, let's say, to understand like all those players that come overseas to Europe. Let's say most of them, in my experience from the US, let's say Canada or United States, you need to understand for most of them this is something new. If this is not something new, it's like pretty new, maybe 2 3 years abroad. So it's a tough situation for them because at the end, most of them they have no families. They are really young, 24, 25, sometimes even younger. So you need to understand their context. You need to like create a relationship of trust with them. And after that, maybe you can teach something. But I'm telling you, most of those guys, they teach you first. They teach you. they tell you, I'm gonna come every day, I wanna have before. So you know, like if you're not there, they're gonna be there. And this is a shame for strength coach. So I have like it's I can count these players with only one hand. It's not like everybody, but those guys also they push me to be better. And this is like what you need. Like this is for me. It's like I still in touch with those guys. These are the guys that mostly I'm in touch with them. With some of the others, not even like close, but these guys here and there, you talk to them because they appreciate so much what you have done for them during that period here when they were like let's say a mid low level player in the league basketball, but now they are here and they appreciate it so much and they are so humble. Like you can see this. So when a player come in and he's not disciplined and he's coming late 3 4 times and you try to explain him and then again and you tell him like if you need help outside he never asks for help but then he's complaining about like the life here and it's like and I also understand them because this is not my country. I'm here for a few years but it's kind of the same experience in a different position and for me it's something like you can teach to the really young guys. I have young guys here, Israeli guys that came with 18. Now they are 22. And for sure, I see the difference in the discipline, in the work ethic, in how much they want to improve and everything. But when it comes to a main player of 24, 25 years old, already being in college, maybe a couple of other teams in overseas, I think it's something really tough to teach this.
Yes. So it would be better to start this earlier for anyone listening. But one point that I really like what you said is like asking for help. It can be a strength coach that you ask for help. Hey, there is something, ask, you want your stretching routine, ask. You want help with the assistant coach to do extra shooting 10 minutes or like
Yeah.
some extra skills, ask for that. They might not offer, but they might be really, really happy to provide you with help because you are the one who is looking for the answers. And then we, strength coaches or any kind of coaches, we will be much more likely to help you with like more effort even because we are happy to help. So asking for help is one thing that I think.
This is funny because those guys that I'm telling you, like they come early, they come really early, like hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before practice. Nobody's on the gym. Assistant coaches are doing video or they have other things to do. Me, I'm maybe preparing all the workouts or the plan for the weight room, so maybe I'm home doing it and then I go hour and a half before, but they're already 2 hours before there. So they are like, I want to shoot, but I don't want to shoot and go catch the ball all the time. This is not quality shooting. So
Yes.
what they go to the youngest guy in the team. Hey, 2 hours before in the gym. Let's say we practice at 12. Hey, at 10 o'clock we are in the gym. We're shooting 45 minutes. So he take the guy. He helped to improve the young guy. He give the work ethic and discipline, like let's say mindset to this guy. And he's working like he's finding the way to work. And it's not one. Like it's like at least 2 3 guys like they did this and they amazed me because it was like you don't even need us. You will find your way. So this is insane for me because it happened for all the season. They took the young guy and the young guy was coming every day, boom, 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 and those guys now you see like those guys that were there before, and now they are like okay, they are not these high level players, but they are like playing maybe second, third division with a great work ethic, and they saw this. They saw like the guy that works succeed. So this is, but for sure they need to ask, and sometimes they don't, and they just give up on the work. So, but yeah, yeah.
Yes. And what about work? Sorry. And what about work in the weight room? Because like I've been following you for a few years already, so I see that you are doing regular those exercises like trap bar deadlifts, squats, lunges, everything what everyone like knows that they need to do. But
Yeah,
also I see some we call it like an Instagram exercises like rotational cable pulls where the band is like strapped around your
yeah,
upper
yeah.
body or like a hamstring catches. So what if like when should players focus more on those exercises and when players should focus more on the basic lifts, in your opinion, is it like age group differences, or is it like experience in the weight room, or what does it depend on?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything, and also depends on the philosophy you have as a strength coach. This for me comes from my academic background a little bit. In Spain, everybody knows like the master's degree of Barcelona, like the high performance team sports. They have a really interesting methodology and like completely different of the traditional let's say philosophies. Um, and they like one of their main principles is like to the variation of exercises of a stimulus to the players. So when I start working as a strength and conditioning coach, I was like crazy about this. Like, hey, let's do squat, but you will go from squat to lunge, from reverse lunge to side lunge, to mixing everything. Then you understand like this is maybe for the highest level, like athletes, when they did already all the movements, all the foundational programs, and they are like completely tired of this. Like I heard like Mike James said like what I like about my strength coach, like the strength coach Mike Gebar, like he has an Instagram, it's super trendy on Instagram.
Yes.
So so what he said like motivates him to work with him is like he's totally like out of the traditional movements. Everything he does is completely different. His animal flow movements, his single leg with every rep variation, his extensive plyometrics on the technique scored. So you can see like the highest level athlete, the highest one, need a completely different like stimulus. But then I realized like obviously with young athletes, you need to go more to the traditional philosophies because they don't have this background. Also, it's really important the maturity of the players. Like when you have like super tall players, like they are still growing up, or you already have like players like they're not growing up more, and you can work more on the tendons and all this stuff. So first of all, it comes from my background of what I study and the philosophy they teach me in this master's degree. But also, when I came and when you go to most of the places, you have a traditional weight room. You never have a bursa pulley or like rotational straps or let's say all the kind of bands. You have a traditional weight room with a rack, squat rack. If you are lucky, you have a trap, a deadlift. You have dumbbells, you have cables, and you have guide machines like leg extension and leg press. So when I came here, I came with all this philosophy that I developed for a few years, and I was like really in shock because I said, here I cannot develop all of this. First of all, the weight room is also small, like no more than 6, 7 players can lift like at the same time. So you cannot do a lot of movements. Basically, you need to do more static stuff, more foundational things because of basically the space you have to work. So you need to adapt. And when I came here, I kind of did a combination of both. And also then I have a different type of player now. Like all the American US players, they come from colleges. In colleges in the US, what you work is basically traditional things.
Yes, strength, yes.
They will not have this philosophy of variation and acceleration, deceleration movements in 3 dimensions or whatever. So what I try to do is to check them, what's their background, what they like, and then once you like set the basic stuff, set the base for the season, you start to bring different stimulus, different exercises.
Yes.
For sure, for the young players, you keep the traditional stimulus more, but for those guys that play a lot, that during the season the main thing is to maintain the strength levels. So you give maybe some stimulus. I have the water packs, the stability packs. So maybe the plyometrics, you do it with this to give a different stimulus. Maybe so the core exercises instead of all the anti-rotation ones or the med ball throws. Today you're gonna do with a rotational strap with a step forward movement. Obviously, I have an explanation for this exercise, what you're working on, but the main thing is to give a different stimulus to the player. And
Yes.
I try to be like like you told me, flashy exercises. I try like for sure, like when I record an exercise, that the visualization of it is really good. But the main target is like, so for sure, I'm working a rotation, like the rotation of the upper body is really good. The hips, the align of the hips is good, all of this stuff. So for me, there is part of my philosophy to, combine the foundational exercises, let's say all the trap bars, squat, deadlifting, um, let's say also with the hip thrust, I use it a lot and all of this.
Yes.
And then to give different stimulus, let's say working with bands, working with the stability backs, working with rotational movements, three-dimension movements. So I think
Yes.
and I see it works. It works good, and also like the players, they embrace the.
And like you said, like I saw that young players needed a little bit different approach because I like what you said. I mean, it's interesting because I say I like because this is what I think also. So maybe I shouldn't say I like, but in general, I do think the same way that training for the ones who are already at the highest level or are super talented is different to the ones who are still going to that development stages and they want to be at that highest level. You cannot treat them the same way, not only because of the age difference, but because already where they are and how many minutes do they play, about all these different areas. Maybe somebody has so, let's say, long and I'll just call it different tendons that they are super
Yeah,
explosive. But for somebody else, maybe the going after first few years of their development career, going after strength in those simple exercises will be a game changer. While for the other player, he doesn't need to do that much. He can go to just
yeah.
variation just to reduce the risk of injuries, and it will be very, very different. So you need to combine both. But what you're saying, it seems for me that usually young players need to first develop that base and work on those like basic exercises.
Yeah, completely agree. And also another thing, like, and and when you are not in a team, like for a full season, especially like, let's say, high level, like first division, second division teams, even third division teams, like the season is so long. You get through a preseason, then the in-season training and games. Sometimes you play twice a week, sometimes once, sometimes you don't play. So you train a lot, and also you need to motivate the player. Like I'm not saying like you need to actually motivate every day, but sometimes when it's the highs and lows during the season, you need to motivate them to not tell them, hey, today you do the same thing like the last 2 months. Like you come and you do something different. Hey, today we're gonna do this, and look, you need to focus on this and that. And the players like, I need to think a little bit. I need to, this actually is good. This is something I like. We can add, like you need to give a different stimulus, like during the season. It's so long. Like we are in December, and it looks like we have been here already 5, 6 months. You know how it works. Like, and also for them, you can see like when they are more tired, and when they are through fatigue. When you tell them to do a back squat, it's not gonna be the same like when you give a bit more like, let's say, different exercise. I think this is also important to feel it. It's not just like about the scientific base of all the programs you do. I think this is really important also to feel what your players need every day.
Yes. Okay, I do agree a lot. However, at the same time, I would like to still touch another topic that I believe would be interesting. Actually, it goes quite hand in hand with this one. So now we were talking about the in-season training, how we might to spice the training up a little bit with changing the exercises. And since you have been traveling to USA for to help some players for the during the off season. So you have seen, you have been working in Europe and in USA. So I would like to know your, let's say, principles, ideas for off season and in season training. But I would like to talk now specifically for two age groups. So for middle school and for high school athletes, so that we would compare in-season and off-season training differences. I know it's very long and broad topic, but if you could just touch principles for someone who is playing like 1 to 2 games a week, how do the training sessions or should they change anyhow when we're talking about in-season and off-season for those two age groups?
Okay, so um, first of all, I think it's completely different. Obviously, the off season with the in season, and so the off season is the best time to develop as a player, to develop all kind of aspects, strengths, weaknesses, uh, and
And
depending
it
on
goes
the
for both groups, yes? Like for that middle school and for high school,
yeah,
let's say
I
it's
think like let's say we're talking age groups between let's say 12 to 14, and
50.
then
Yes.
12 to 15, and then 15 above. I think it's different because at the end, like when you are 12, 15, you're still in really like completely developing your body, and the maturity age of each one of the players can be completely different. So for sure you can improve, but I think at this age you still have a window to experiment with different sports. And this is something I was thinking about it. Like for sure, it's a topic from the last like let's say 10 years. But I'm completely agree with the topic. Like it's better to work like to experience completely different sports during these ages. Okay, when would you get to 14, if you are at a really good level, let's say with the top team, and that they can develop you as a player, okay, this is one example. But most of the guys, and also myself when I was young, at these ages I was still doing different sports. I think this is something amazing. This is something that we are losing because of all the players, they want to be professional, let's say, and everybody wants to be the best and blah blah blah. But at the end, like if you combine something like a team sport like basketball with individual sport, let's say swimming or track and field, or I don't know, completely different sports, the level of adaptations of your body when you are like a really young age is gonna be amazing. It's gonna help you. If lately when you are 13, 14, 15, you choose only basketball, okay, usually it happens like around 12, 13, I guess, or even earlier now. But back then I stopped, like I was playing basketball, only basketball at 14. Before I was doing different sports, like swimming, like track and field, like football, and it's completely different, like motor skills for each one of these sports. So I think this is amazing. And I think in this group age, okay, you can start like with the basic development of, let's say, strength and conditioning, but I would never do it super specific. I just would do it, let's say, as a block during the basketball part. Let's say if you are in a team with 12, 13, 14, you have something, a block like of strength and conditioning. Something like I would avoid, for sure, I would avoid the jumping, all the plyometrics. I would focus more on general movements, because the plyometrics, like we said, like you can have taller guys, guys like are much more, their bodies are much more mature, and then other guys like are less. So I would focus more like on just playing, on just doing different sports, and then start with the basics of strength and conditioning, even experience with body weight and really simple circuits, and add it to the basketball part, not just like a strength and conditioning part, like it's super serious and high level. I think this is not okay at these ages. Even I saw
Yes.
it in high level clubs with 12, 13 years old, and I don't like it. I just don't like it, because when I think myself with 12, 13, I love strength and conditioning. But with 12, 13, I think like you need to play a bit more. Like
Yes.
you will
In
have time to
season, you would say it in season and in off season. In both ways, you would need to
both.
find a way to play and to teach and to train at the same time.
Yeah, I think both. I wouldn't see a difference in these ages. And I wouldn't be so serious about the training. I would be much more focused on like the players, the guys, like the practitioners in general, like whoever, Boomer, Nine, like they have fun. Like they have fun. They experience different sports. If they like the most basketball, for sure, focus on basketball. But on the weekends when you don't have a game, let's go play some tennis. Let's go. I don't know, do some running. And if you have somebody to teach you like some strength and conditioning movement, let's say let's work like with body weight stuff and start to work on that. But when you see these videos on social media of guys like 8 years old, like doing snatches, I personally don't really like it.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
Then
Yes.
when you, yeah, yeah,
One thing to add. Maybe you have, because you're from Spain. Maybe you can confirm this or say that you haven't noticed this. What I notice in young players, it can be even during the high school when they are 17 years old. You can see that sometimes they have very good footwork on basketball court. They already, let's say, specialize in basketball, and I can see very good footwork. And most of the times they have played European football, soccer, when they were kids, and usually they have very good footwork, and you toss them the ball and they can like kick it in the air with their legs, and like it's very interesting for me. If I don't know if you have noticed that, but very often I see this.
yeah, I cannot give you an explanation of this. I can give you my, I don't know, about my experience and why I think this is happening. But basically, you play football in Spain. Football Spain is for sure a basketball country, but it's more a football country. Like football is the most important sport ever. Like everybody plays football everywhere. Not now less, but when I was a kid, you go on the school 7 a.m., 7:30, and you already play 45 minutes. I was sweating like at the first class. At the first class, I was sweating. I was even playing basketball until I was 6, 7, 8, and before I played football for already 5 years. I'm not playing like in a federation or whatever, but I was playing as a kid on the street, whenever. So I think like I have really good motor skills to adapt to basketball, to adapt to swimming, to adapt to everything because I did a different variety of sports. Uh, but the footwork also, I think, when I start playing basketball, the footwork obviously in basketball is really important. And in Spain, like the school of coaches back then, and now it's even better, I guess, but a bit more focus on like this be the best and everything. Before was much more humble, I think, because wasn't all the social media stuff and wasn't a lot of resources, a lot of places where you can go get the knowledge. So everybody goes to the courses, to the old coaches, and they get all the footwork stuff, and they teach you how to move your legs, how to do like all the pivoting stuff. I remember like coaches from my village teaching things like today is lost. Like nobody's teaching these fundamentals. And then another thing is like the footwork is something simple to work on. Let, let's say simple. With no resources, no equipment, you can work. You can catch the lines of the court, do some footwork. You can put a ladder, do some footwork. So I remember we used to do a ladder with tape at the end of the court, and we used to warm up there and do every day like different movements. And so I think it's just like the school of coaches back then. Not even strength coaches, was the head coach of the team, like the youth coaches doing all of this. And I think it's because of this. Could be a combination of
Yes.
all the support we have for the football, and like everybody practice this sport for sure when you are really young, and then you decide maybe to go to other ones. But I practice football till like 12, 13. Then I just give up for basketball. But it's really common, obviously, to work with the ball with your feet. Is like to
Yeah.
play with the ball is something like will give you really good motor skills.
So we
So
agree that we both would add football as one of sports for basketball players developing at
for
that
sure,
age, or like or agility ladders, not for agility but for coordination, do different exercises,
exactly.
have the tennis ball, dribble the ball,
Exactly,
whatever.
it's footwork. It's not talking about the agility and all these, let's say, argument like everybody has in social media. Yeah, okay, the ladder doesn't improve the agility, but if you work with a line, you can really work on your coordination. Like, still, like some professional players, like you can see, like they cannot do a certain movement just separating the right from the left, and so
Yes.
it's just some basic stuff that you put at the beginning of the youth programs, and I think it works. It works good. Not
And
for yeah, yeah,
no, no, say.
no, not just for the development as a player, for the development also as a person. Like when they will practice another sport, it will help them. Or like when they are like adults, all of this stuff, it will help them. So I think it's really nice.
Yes, yes, and I mean, it may for some people look like a turn, but actually it was one thing that also applies to that age 12, 15, and even 16, 19s or professional. As you said, sometimes it's difficult for them to separate right and left. But now, if you would come back to ages, high school, 16 to 18, 19 players, and in-season and off-season training, do they have the differences between in season? If somebody, let's play 1 to 2 games a week, would we train it differently?
Yeah, for sure. Like the because basically to improve a player in the youth, you need to overload the player. Like with the training on the court, with the training on the weight room, with the conditioning, whatever it is, you need to overload the player. So if the player is playing 2 games a week, like the approach need to be completely different. So you need to adapt to these games to recover the player. Obviously, it's not like you're not gonna do like a crazy recovery protocol, but basic stuff like mobility, stretching, like light conditioning, all of this is like what you're gonna do like the day after the game. Maybe you can develop the upper body if players they need like more stimulus of hypertrophy. But when you have 2 games a week, even in the youth, you cannot push the player to the limit because at the end some things will come up like patella pain, tendinopathy, Achilles tendinopathy, like the lower back pain, whatever it is. Because at the end they also like have a lot of contact during the games, sprints, change direction, and this at the end the next day the body need to recover from this. So the off season is completely different. You have full time to do individual work, to play, and to overload the player in the weight room. So it's completely different. You can really focus on developing in this group age during the off season, and in season also if there is only 1 game a week, working with the coach hand to hand and managing the training loads of the practices and the time that they are practicing and they are doing work on the weight room. I think is for sure a good age and it's a time like also to develop during the season. It's possible in this group age in high school.
Yes, in season, I also say, as you say, if it's 1 game a week, it's definitely,
Yeah.
definitely improvable, especially with a good coach. In 2 times, when you have two trainings, I mean, the higher 2 games, so then the trainings will differ again, but it's still possible. Even like if, especially if you have not trained in the weight room that much, the results will be significant. But if you have been going to weight room since like 15 and you're already 18, it will be much lesser extent of the progress at that time if you have 2 or even sometimes 3 games. So, but I agree with you, like off season, everything is under control. You can push much harder because there is no game time. You can have a little bit of sore muscles during the off season, and in season, you don't want to be too sore because of the games.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. At the end, the players they want to enjoy when they play games, and if they are tired or they are sore, it's not fun. It's not fun because it's tough to play through this. Also, it's something is a let's say a learning process of sometimes you need to play through this and everything. But most of the time, our work is like to put them in a good position to play. So I think when they play twice a week, I think it's not really common in Europe to play twice a week in a youth program, but if it's happening, you need to manage. Then it's also like when I was in the US, they told me like when you're in high school, you play crazy. Like the schedule is insane. Like you play so many games in a season, maybe more than 50, 60 games, and like your body is destroyed at the end. So I think this is completely damaging the players. Like at the end, they have a huge background of playing against different teams all around the country, but it's insane. Like the schedule, I don't remember how is the name of the ACC leagues, I think, or but
AU, I mean, I have few clients who are in high schools in USA, and I think January and February months, I believe it's 21 game, if I remember correctly, in those 2 months. So when you think it's like game, like every 2 or 3 days is a game. Sometimes like game, 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 couple days rest, game, game. So it can happen. It
yeah,
can
I,
happen.
I I did it in Spain. Like when I worked with the youth, we went to a tournament. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we played in 3 days more than 6 games.
Yes, it can happen
It,
for
it was
sure.
it was insane. I didn't like it. I told my club like this is not good. this is not good at all. But I might be wrong. I don't know. Like, but I don't like it.
It is how it is, and we just need to find the ways to work around. Maybe do some isometrics, 5-10 minutes, still better than nothing, or maybe just do the stretching. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's go to the last part, which is short questions. I mean, or longer questions, but your answers needs to be as short as possible. Yes, no, one word, or
Okay,
sentences. I don't. Okay, sentences. There will be no sentences. So you just do not think too much. If you want to touch something afterwards, we can touch briefly. But for now, just your first thought and just say. Okay.
sure.
Heavy lifting during the season. Yes or no?
Yes,
Squats or deadlift for improving vertical jump.
yes.
But which one you would choose more, squats or deadlift for vertical jump?
Squats.
Ice bath, yes or myth?
Yes.
Chin-ups, what is the good number of chin-ups that you would say is good enough?
Body weight or like
Body weight.
20.
What would you choose if you wanted to improve basketball conditioning? Sprints or long runs like zone 2?
To build conditioning,
Yes.
zone 2.
Is there a place for machines in your training program?
Yes.
Is complete passive day necessary for basketball players? Like complete day off in a week?
Yes.
Static stretching in warm-ups, needed or not?
Not needed.
And in cool down?
You can do it, but I don't think it's needed. Like if you feel good, you can do it, but I don't think it's needed.
Okay. And the last one, what is number one recovery method for you? Not for you, but that you think is for the players.
Sleep quality, and for sure, like you said, completely passes day off. And if you can do it, disconnect with something completely different than basketball.
Okay, I really like it. Very briefly, if you could tell why you think static stretching is not needed for basketball, no, for warm-ups.
Like you said, the warm-ups and for cool down. Like
Yes.
actually, I do like in my, let's say, pre-game routine. Like for the place, I have like couple of static stretching, but it's not like this, like raising the legs, stretching the hamstring and the calf, like during the 10 seconds. It's more like the pyramidal and all the glute hip area that I think is this passive stretching. I think is correct and is nice, but I think that it has huge benefits. Like benefits, let's say, like it's shown like to have more range of motion on like the joint, like when you stretch it, it's not giving you better performance. Actually, it's saying like on the literature on the that it's not beneficial. It's actually like not helping you to perform better.
Yes.
So that's why I think I prefer to not use it. If there is a player like want to use it, hey, you want to use it? I help you. I will do it in a way like I know like the muscle is active. It's not like I do passive stretching and that's it. For example, what I
Yes.
do with some players, let's say the last 4 years, I always have one player like the game day and during the practice after for cool down, tell me I want to stretch. I don't go to them and I said, hey, this is not helping you. This is bad. This at the beginning, I used to do it, but then I realized it's part of their routines. I said, is gonna have really bad results for them? No, they will go home. It's not affecting for practice. So usually before practice, I try to not do it. But after practice for cool down, if there is a specific player that wants it, I will do it. In a way, like I'm not going crazy on the range of motion and this and the game days before the game when they ask for it, I try to stretch it. But at the same time, when I finish, I try to tell them to do an active like a stretch, like so they push me So they keep activating this area. It's not just passive. I first do passive stretching and then at the end, active stretching. So I think I'm like, let's say, lying to them a little bit, like, yeah, I do the stretching, but then you're gonna activate also by yourself. And then
Yeah.
also all these players, like they ask me for stretching after we do other routines. Like let's say we do some core movements, we do some like decelerations, pushing them from the back and all of this. So at the same time, they want this feeling of stretching, but then I compensate this like I don't really like with something like I keep them activated. So, but I don't
Yes.
think it's needed. Also, one thing, like you say, for cool down after games or practices is something I like just for team building. Like, let's say you put everybody in a circle and they stretch. The other day I was watching EuroLeague and Paris when they won against Olympiacos. They were stretching, and the journalist was saying, "Oh, they are recovering because they have like a flight now back, and they play Monaco in the weekend." I said they are basically doing nothing. They were like sitting on the court talking, but it's really positive because they don't go
Yes.
to the locker room and they are with the headphones. They are like together doing some kind of stretching. Not even the strength coach was giving guidelines to them to do. It was just
Yeah.
sitting in a circle, like the 8, 9 main players, just talking. So if you tell me if static stretching for this, for sure I will do it.
Yes, yes, yes. I 100% agree with you. 100% agree. Okay, so from our conversation, I would like to summarize in like three kind of key takeaways, if you will. So let me know if I did well or if you would add something. So first of all, often overlooked area is lower leg. So don't only train your quads and hamstrings and like chest or back muscles, but also train your, as you were talking, foot, calf. So this area would be one. Then another second thing would be discipline and work ethics are the key, let's say, determinators for your success. You need to be disciplined and have the very good work ethics in order to succeed. And the last one, if you want to be great basketball player, don't play only basketball, especially at the young age. Challenge yourself with a little bit of other sports in order to improve. How crazy it sounds. In order to be better basketball player, do some other sports.
Yeah, I really like it. I really like those three because I really believe in it. On the three you said, on the food complex to work more on it, like to be more aware of this kind of training. I think it's really important. Then about like the discipline and work ethic, I really believe on this. I really believe on this because I have seen it with my eyes and then about the youth ages for sure to experiment with completely different sports and then when you specialize at the 13, 14, amazing, keep going and give everything there. But if before you have a wider experience with different sports, it will be like so beneficial for everybody.
Manuel,
So
thank you for your time today. If anyone would like to contact you, what would be the best way?
you can contact me through Instagram. My Instagram, like I
I
think
will
is
put it in the show notes. If you wherever you're listening, just look at the description. It will be there. Or is there anything else you would like to say, or because I cut you off?
no, man, it's a big pleasure to talk to you again. You know, we meet here in Israel long time ago, like a couple of years ago, and it's really nice to talk to you again. And just thank you for having me in your new podcast. I hope you have a lot of success on this project, and you enjoy it and learn a lot, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And for everyone else, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode. That is the best way to support us. But for now, keep training basketball, body, and mind.